Hi, hey, hi, it is me, it is I, your Void, and this is going to be another wrap up. It is the middle of the month, and I have only finished one book off of my TBR. Oops. Because I was filming another series slasher episode. If you haven't watched it, I will link it somewhere. But it took me half a month to get through the books for that. But it's a big but. My May TBR is rather short, so I'm pretty sure I can do it in 14 days or something to finish all of that out. And I already finished one book, so I finished The Stardust Grail by Yume Kitasei, and it's hard to get an opinion on that. It's a solid sci-fi read. And the way it is written, the way it is built, is kind of reminding me of how Becky Chambers writes the Wayfarer series. We expand on the culture and on the difference between humans and the alien species in the world. And this one leans a bit more on the scientific side because our main character is a student, a grad student, I believe. And we start at a university, and a lot of the things we do is informed through her perspective as someone who works in science. Not science as in biology, chemistry, and blah blah blah. She's a historian. She's working on history and culture. So that is the lens we filter everything through. But she's also a thief! A reformed thief, kind of. But she's doing this Robin Hood thing. Like, she steals stuff from museums and then brings them back to the culture they belong to. Kind of. Kind of. She also did it for her own gain. But the basic premise is she was always looking for the Stardust Grail, because the Stardust Grail is this thing. No one exactly knows what it is, but it comes from the Frenro people. I would call them people, even though they're more like starfish. And they made these Stardust Grails, and it is rumored that the Stardust Grail helps them with their own population. They kind of needed to have babies because they are at the brink of extinction for a while now. It is very good that they are as long-lived as they are. That's how they are still around. But they cannot make new ones of themselves without the Stardust Grail and the thing that it is, I guess. And we follow Maya right after she discovers a book that is written by the one person that found one, if not the last, Stardust Grail. And she discovers a new book by them which chronicles a missing chunk of time in which the Grail has been found. And she's like, oh, I need to tell my friend, I need to tell my Frenro friend to show them that maybe there is a way to get the Stardust Grail. But then also the government shows up and is like, knock knock, we need you to find this thing, because this is probably the one thing that allows us to have interstellar travel. Because the way interstellar travel works in this book is, I don't know if I can show you the map, but all of these dots is a system, and these dots are called nodes, and they're like holes in the universe. They just popped up, and they sometimes move a bit, just a little bit. And if you go through one of those nodes, it's basically a wormhole. You go through on one end and then you come out somewhere else. They are connected at very specific places. So you have this entire network and know, okay, this node gets me there, blah, 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 blah. That's how you travel in this world, or universe rather. And these nodes have started to disappear, specifically the ones around human settlements. So the government is like, hey, we need you to find the Stardust Grail because we think the Stardust Grail is what makes new nodes, or can at least prevent the old nodes from going away. Of course, our main character, Maya, doesn't want to work for the government because she has issues with them, but she still wants to find the Stardust Grail to help a friend. And she's now between this choice of, okay, I can find the Stardust Grail and give it to my friend so their species can survive, or I can give it to the government and they poke holes through the universe. But the problem is you cannot give it to both, because the Frenro, they implant it into their body to make babies, I guess. That was never really explained. And the government would like to take it apart to make more, but like artificial ones. So either way, it would be destroyed. So it has to be a yes or no decision. So Maya is like, okay, cool, I'm gonna find the Stardust Grail, but I'm going to do it for my friend. And now we have this race because the government is trying to look for it, and She is trying to look for it for a friend, and then shit happens. And I have to say, for a heist story, there is not a lot of heisting in here. Like, once we do the heist thing, it's actually just go in, smash and grab, and leave. And pretty much both times we do it. Like, there are 2 heists in here, and both are more like smash and grab. The later one, the second one, is very Indiana Jones-esque, but the book is not very long. It is just over 300 pages long, so the entire Indiana Jones section of the book feels kind of rushed. And the rest of the book, there is this time pressure. We have 2 different pressure points. One, we are racing against the government. We're trying to find this thing before the government does to save our friend. 2, mankind is slowly being ripped out of the intergalactic system. These portals that we need to travel across the universe are closing. And we have colonies at different ends of these nodes. So with these nodes shutting down, we are actively losing access to other humans as well. That is never felt. It is explained as a threat in the beginning, and then by the end, she gets a message of that node has closed, and one happens to be around another friend that she now can never visit again, because there's no way to travel to them. And there is no emotional backlash to that. Zero! And that friend is a good friend. That friend is a friend who taught her so many things. What? Also, we have a crew. We hired a crew for this trip. So we have the friend Ro, we have Maya, we have another human who is ex-military of the government and still very much beholden to the ideology of the government, and a medbot who gained sentience and is now collecting personality modules like other people collect Pokemon, I guess, because he wants to have the most human experience possible. I did not connect with anyone. I liked Uncle. Uncle was amazing. Uncle is so funny without trying to be funny, because Uncle is trying so hard to understand humans, but they are always slightly to the left. Just slightly to the left of what is human. For example, Uncle doesn't know the word for anyone that is not a friend. So Uncle just says, "This is your unfriend." I love that shit. Uncle also never says Maya's name right. They always say Maya. It's just so funny. I mean, they are Ascension Star. They are Ascension C-Star, basically. But it's so funny. And then you have Maya. Maya is cool. Maya has her ideals. I like that she's sticking to her ideals. But every time there is some conflict introduced that may be a moral conflict for her, it's not that deep. So, and then we have Will, the human soldier. I don't like her. She's always kind of standoffish, and there's nothing that ever gets you closer to her. And then we have Maddox, and Maddox is like the comic relief character, kind of. He's not a comic relief character as in he makes jokes. It's more like he's just there doing his thing, and it is humorous in the situation because he's so calm, because he's a robot. So I was not necessarily vibing with the characters, and the story promised more than it eventually was. The ending, don't read this if you'd like pretty endings, as in like wrapped up with a bow and everything makes sense. It is a semi-ambiguous ending. I don't know, but by the end, there were a couple twists by the end when we meet the rest of the friend row, where I was like, okay, I did not see that coming. Holy shit, what the fuck? What? But then you're reminded, and I think that was actually very important, and that is very important in this book as well. We see everything play out from Maya's perspective, so from a human perspective. And what this book hammers home is that when you meet an alien, humans like to do that. When we meet another life form, let it just be an animal. We like to anthropomorphize, meaning we like to put our own morals, values, thoughts, the way we work, we like to put that on another life form. You see it all the time with animals. I myself am guilty of that. When I play with Riley, I speak with Riley as if he's a person. Does he understand me? No! Fuck no! He's a dog! but I do it to feel good, right? And this entire book has some very interesting twists that should not be twists if you think about it. They are only twists because we see it from a human perspective. And then people constantly remind you, you are dealing with aliens. You are dealing with people who are not like you, who never have been like you, who never will be like you. The friend row, again, they are sea stars. They have, I think, 10 main tentacles. They live in an aquatic sphere. They have 273 question mark emotions. They are very, very different. The Belzor in here, they are very, very different. The Quietling, the Far Stars, they are all so incredibly different. And it is explained how they are different. Their cultures is explained. Like the way they work is explained in this book. And then the twists happen and you're like, whoa! And then some character is like, dude, they just do what their species does. And you're like, wait a second. Yes, but oh my god. But yes, like it makes sense. But it still hits you because you are human with a human perspective. So that was so good. That was so good. That was my favorite part of the book. Not the twist itself, but because it was there the entire time, because the twist should not be a twist if you think about it. If you really think about it, it's not a twist. But it still is a twist, and that kind of breaks my brain, and I love that. But yeah, the book is kind of mediocre for what it is, other than that realization that the alien people, shocker, are alien. There are a lot of open questions by the end of this book, so I can accept it, given that we are in this vast scope of space and interstellar travel. I can accept that. But if this were, for example, a fantasy book, I probably would not allow this amount of open questions without being very critical about it. I legitimately don't know what I would give this book as a rating. I think 3.5. 3 feels too mean, 4 feels too good, so I think this is going to be a 3.5. My sci-fi / space itch has definitely been scratched with this one, so yes.
Any slobbering noises in the background are due to my puppy currently snacking on his sniff carpet. So just know there is a very happy puppy in the background. Yeah, I'm back because I'm done. I'm done with my TBR. I read both The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett and Initiation by Alethea Faust. Yay me! Because this was such a challenge. Let's start with The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This was so good. This was so fun. This is one of the books that lives up to its hype. And I'm not mad about it. I love this. This was so good. Especially considering that it is just a murder mystery? Kind of, but like in a fantasy world, and in a very, very interesting fantasy world. And I love the fact that you don't get walls of texts explaining how this world works. You just follow characters who were born and raised in this world, so everything they see, everything they experience, that's just normal to them. That's just their life. And I love that. But what is The Tainted Cup about? The Tainted Cup is a murder mystery. Someone was murdered by ingesting some sort of spore or seed, and that then burst out of that person and grew into a tree right through that person. And we follow Anna and Din, and they are the detectives on the case, basically. Now, Din is new on the job. He's only been doing this for 4 months, and so far all he had to investigate was tax fraud or something. And this is his very first murder case. And Din is an engraver, so he was altered in a way that gives him the ability to flawlessly recall absolutely everything he sees, hears, feels, experiences. And it's usually linked to a smell for him, but he just like, his brain is just running the entire time. It's just that they use specific smells to enhance certain memory connections. And he works for Anna. Now, Anna is, I don't want to call her autistic, but she has the autistic life struggle of experiencing absolutely everything at 100% and more all the time. So she just doesn't leave her house and has to rely on Din to analyze a crime scene because she can't go to the crime scene. So she needs Din to remember absolutely everything, recall it to her, and then she tries to solve the case. And we follow these two as they try to investigate this murder. which very, very quickly balloons into something much, much bigger, as in this murder somewhere out in the countryside where they are living suddenly balloons to a empire-crushing problem, because this entire country sits at the edge of the ocean, and every year there is a season, they call it a wet season, and during this wet season, ginormous creatures, think kaijus, come out of the ocean and try to go on land. And this empire has built sea walls, similar to the wall in Pacific Rim, if you watch that. They built these walls to keep these things out, or at least slow them down enough so that the military can kill them and then get rid of them. And this one single murder balloons into something that threatens these walls right at the cusp of one of these wet seasons. So it is crucial to figure out who done did it and why, so we can stop it and prevent the entire empire from being demolished by a Leviathan. And my god, the characters in here, amazing. The investigation in here, so intriguing. And the best part, I didn't know this going in. The best part about this is you can go with the characters, you can investigate with the characters, and then in the end, you get this entire analysis of who done did it and why did they do it. You can solve it with them. I was like, okay, this person did it because of that and that connection. Like, I was following along, and then when I got to the final reveal, and I was like, I was right, wait, what? Yes! So much yes! I would actually say you can do a solve-along with this. You know how a bunch of people are doing Agatha Christie solve-alongs because you can read up to a certain point and try to figure it out yourself? You can do this with the Tainted Cup. And I really, really hope you can do it with A Drop of Corruption as well. And the third book is coming out in August, so yes, I really hope you can do this with the other two books as well, because I will definitely continue this series, because yes, so good. 4.5 stars. Yes. Also, it's queer. I clocked that the second that one character showed up. I was like, and then there was this other scene. I was like, are you going to be roommates? And they became roommates by the end of it. Yes. Now I'm going to go and take the sniff carpet away from my puppy because he's done. So now it's a toy.
A few moments later.
I lied, I gave him a second round because why not? And the other book I finished, which was also great, is Initiation by Alethea Faust, because of course it's great. It was great the first time around, it's great the second time around. Even though I know what was coming, even though I knew where things were leading and how they were looking, it's still a great read. It's still a great read, and I'm so glad that I reread this. Although, rereading this, I was not necessarily only paying half attention. It's more that I flew through everything because I remembered it so vividly. Which is so funny because it's been literal years since I read book one. I think I read this in 2023? 2024? Like, it's been some time since I read this, which is why I wanted to reread this before I finally continue with the series. But I didn't need to reread it because I remembered everything except like a couple of names. But like, I am still very happy with the Sex Wizard series. I'm still very happy that I found this and that it entered my life, and I will never not scream about the Sex Wizard series. And yeah, so what is the Sex Wizard series about? The Sex Wizard series is about a guy, his name's Domini, and he once upon a time shagged a lady so good on a job. My bookmark's still in there randomly. That's what happens when you read outside and it's windy. You just shove your bookmark somewhere. Where was I? Yes. Domini is a ranger. He works in the forest. He gets people from A to B. He just lives in the forest and does forest man things. But one day, he gets hired by a lady to go through this forest, and it takes you a hot second to go there, and, well, one thing led to another. When two people are very alone and in the forest, and he shagged her so good that she said, hey, you have latent magical talent, here's a letter, go to school and do something about it. And he's like, yeah, no, thank you. Spent another year in the forest, but then an injury basically upended his way of life. So he was like, I might as well go to school for magic. So he goes to school for magic, and when he gets there, he figures out how magic is actually done. He only knew, okay, it's like some sort of weird rituals, and wizards are a random bunch of people. Yeah, this world has a kink-based magic system. I will never get tired of saying this. So he comes to this magic school, he comes to the Crux, and he's indoctrinated quite quickly. He's like, okay, you have a magical aptitude test, we still need to kind of test if you really have it, so let's go. And he's like, wait, why are you naked? And then he just shags his way through the entire school and through every school of magic. There are 8 different schools of magic. Each school of magic has a set of kinks associated with it. And he is like, okay, I will try everything twice before I know what I want to do. And we meet a bunch of characters in this first story and we establish the relationships with them, and we also start to establish a bigger plot because wizards are also going missing. That lady he helped to go from A to B, the lady he shagged in order to figure out he has magic, she's gone missing. She and a bunch of other wizards just missing. And it turns out they were kidnapped. And we try to find them, and then we fight them and stuff. Yeah, it's not a very long book. It is somewhere between 75 and 90% smut. But what bits of plot you get are really, really good. They are really well executed. The smut is so good. You have the representation of absolutely everything you can think of in here. Like, everything is in here. Well, almost everything. The asexual character only comes in book 2, and yes, there is an asexual character in a wizard school that needs you to perform kinks in order to start casting spells. I am looking forward to book 2 to see how that works out. But yeah, great read. Still one of my favorites ever. Yes. Yes. And that concludes my entire May TBR, and I could technically end this video here. But I still have so much May left to go in order to read so many more books. So what I will do is I started 2 arcs. I started and finished an arc. I will talk about the first arc in a second. And I have a second arc started. Both of them NetGalley, and they're audiobooks, so I listen to them when I walk the dog. Dogs. Plural now. So I will listen to the second arc I started. Well, I may finish it. There were some things that made me go, in the first 5%. So if I finish it, if I don't finish it, you will know about that a bit later. The other arc I finished was Off the Charts by I don't know, and quite frankly, I do not care. Because this audiobook was a ride. Well, it started out as a ride. It started off with a banger. Like, I started listening to this, I was like, what in the Tyler Perry is this? After the first chapter, I was like, am I allowed to listen to this? Because I feel way too white to listen to this. Like the N-word was used. Soft G, but like, you know? So my white ass is just walking the dog. I'm like, am I allowed to listen to this? And even though it started off with a banger, and I was not prepared for this level of drama, but once I was in it, I was like, yes, let's go! Be messy, be dramatic. And I really wanted the book to keep going like that, but it didn't. Instead, I got characters basically running through their entire life story in a resume form, and the relationship was actually just somewhere between fortune cookie and very shallow psychoanalysis. I mean, fair, one of the characters is a school counselor, but wow, it was so flat and dry. I did not have a nice time with that. And right by the end, there is something that happens right at the end, and if that had happened any earlier, I would have DNF'd this book with a vengeance. Because these 2 characters have sex in a school with kids between the ages of 8 and 15 while school is in session. He literally just had a kid in his office talking through their emotional problems, sent them back to class, and then his girlfriend comes in and they shag while kids are still around. Don't do that. Do not do that. No. No. Nuh-uh. And again, everything else was really, really flat. The first chapter, booyah! Booyah! But honestly, this, let's call it inciting incident, was more interesting. And the people involved in that, the people we are supposed to hate in this story, are more interesting with just 1.5 chapters than the actual romance that is going on. So that was a miss for me. Also, I hate it. I hate it when you have dual narration. You have dual narration. You have a female and a male audiobook person, voice actor. You have them, and then you don't use them for the dialogue. I can't forgive that if each of the narrators can do a good voice of the other gender. But the narration of the guy, when he put on a female voice, it sounded like he is mocking every woman on this planet. It was not enjoyable. It was not enjoyable. So I did finish listening to that, but I wish I hadn't. So, ugh. And the other arc I'm listening to is not shaping up to be much better. So I will see where that is going. But I read all that I needed to read, and then I read a bit more. Cool. Quick and super impromptu outro to this wrap up. I didn't finish anything else in terms of reading, so I will end this video here and then start editing it. If you made it to the end of this video, congratulations, I guess. Let me know if you read any of these books. Let me know if you enjoyed any of these, if you didn't like any of these. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. If you don't want to talk to me at all, leave a sun emoji down in the comments below, because I am currently living through a heat wave and I'm spending a lot of time outside. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye.